Someone cut you off in traffic and ruins your entire morning. But what if I told you anger works exactly like fire, and you're the one holding the gasoline? I've spent years observing people who never lose their cool. Not monks, not therapists, just regular people who somehow bypass the anger trap entirely. And I found something that changes everything. Anger isn't something that happens to you. It's a system you're running, often without realizing it. By the end of this video, you'll have a framework that can collapse your anger cycle from hours to minutes. No meditation required, just one pattern shift. Your coworker just took credit for your idea in the Monday meeting. Right now, as you sit there nodding along, something's happening inside you. Your heart rate spikes. Your jaw clenches. And for the next 3 hours, maybe the rest of the day, you're going to mentally rehearse the confrontation you should have had. You'll script out the perfect comeback. You'll imagine their face when you expose them. Meanwhile, you're accomplishing exactly nothing except burning through your emotional reserves like rocket fuel. Here's what's fascinating. That 15-second moment in the meeting is over. Done. But you're going to carry it around like a backpack full of hot coals for hours, maybe days. The initial provocation was tiny, a comment, a gesture, someone forgetting to signal. But you've turned it into an emotional wildfire. And here's the part most people miss. You're not just experiencing the anger, you're actively feeding it. You're the one pouring gasoline on that match. I call this the fuel system. Think of anger like a chemical reaction. A match flares up instantly when you strike it. That initial flash of rage is automatic, almost chemical. But here's the critical part. That match burns out in seconds unless you feed it more material. Paper, wood, oxygen. The fire needs fuel to sustain itself. Your anger works the same way. The initial strike, the cutoff in traffic, the stolen credit, the forgotten groceries. That's the match. Completely normal. But then you start adding fuel. You replay the moment. You imagine what you should have said. You start building narratives. They always do this to me. This is disrespectful. I need to show them they can't treat me this way. Each thought is another piece of kindling on the fire. Now think of your emotional system like a guitar string. I've noticed something about people who handle provocations well. Their strings aren't wound as tight. When something strikes them, same exact provocation that would send someone else into orbit, their string produces a clear note that fades naturally. The other person, their string is so taut that the slightest touch creates this harsh, reverberating jangle that just keeps going. The difference isn't in what hits the string, it's in how the instrument is tuned. And here's the thing nobody tells you. You can retune yourself. So how does the retuning happen? I've observed something interesting. It's almost never through willpower or anger management techniques. It happens through exposure to different patterns. If you grow up watching someone stay calm when things go wrong, something fascinating happens in your brain. You're not learning a philosophy or a breathing technique. You're absorbing a different default setting. It's like watching someone solve problems without ever throwing the wrench across the garage. The calm isn't an act they're performing. It's just their baseline. Your brain constantly runs pattern-matching software. When you see someone encounter a provocation and not escalate, you're downloading that pattern. When you watch someone treat a mistake as information instead of betrayal, you're learning a new response pathway. The more you're exposed to these patterns, the more your own default settings start to shift. This is why people often say, I became calmer after spending time with specific person. They're not trying to be calm. The pattern just installed itself through observation. But here's what most people miss, and this is where it gets interesting, and where most advice completely misses the point. People think anger management is about suppression, deep breaths, counting to 10, meditation apps. But that's like trying to fix a guitar that's wound too tight by plucking the strings more gently. You're addressing the symptom, not the tension. What I'm talking about is different. It's not about controlling your anger. It's about tuning your system so the anger doesn't wind up to that pitch in the first place. Let's make this practical. Your partner forgets to pick up groceries. Again, 3 weeks in a row now. The old version of you? This is the match striking. And immediately you start adding fuel. They don't respect my time. I always have to do everything. This is just like that time they forgot our anniversary. Within minutes you're slamming doors, escalating from forgot the milk into a full relationship crisis. But you've been around someone recently who doesn't reflexively escalate. Maybe a coworker, maybe a friend. You watched how they responded when their own plan got derailed. They paused, treated it as information, adjusted without drama. That pattern is now in your system. So when your partner forgets the groceries this time, something different happens. The match still strikes. You feel that initial flash of irritation. But you don't reach for the fuel. You just adjust. Order delivery. Mention it calmly later. Hey, this keeps happening. What's going on? The whole thing takes 5 minutes instead of poisoning the entire evening. Same provocation, different tuning, different outcome. Now, here's what doesn't work, and this trips people up constantly. They try to copy the calm person's words or actions without understanding the tuning beneath it. They say it's fine through gritted teeth. They force themselves not to react, but internally they're still pouring gasoline everywhere. That's not retuning. That's just muting the guitar while the strings are still vibrating wildly. The pattern has to install at a deeper level. You can't fake this. You can't white-knuckle your way to a looser string. What you can do is deliberately expose yourself to people who have different default settings. Watch them, not their words, their physical responses. Notice what they don't do. Notice the pause. Notice how they process provocation as neutral information rather than personal attack. Your brain will do the rest. The pattern will transfer, but only if you're actually observing, not just trying to imitate. Here's your assignment for this week. Find one person in your life who stays unusually calm under pressure. Could be anyone. Coworker, friend, even someone you barely know. Watch them carefully next time something goes wrong. Don't ask them their secret. Just observe how they physically respond. Notice what they don't do. Then, next time you feel that match strike, try copying just one small piece of their pattern. Let's bring this full circle. Someone cut you off in traffic. The match strikes. That's chemistry. That's automatic. But you don't grab the gasoline. You feel the flash, you notice it, and it fades. 15 seconds later, you've completely forgotten it happened. This is the fuel system in action. The provocation was identical. Your coworker took credit. Your partner forgot the groceries. The driver cut you off. Same match. Every time. But your system is tuned differently now. The string doesn't reverberate endlessly. The fire doesn't spread. You absorbed a different pattern by watching someone who had already figured this out, not through their advice, but through their example. And now that pattern is running in your system, quietly retuning your default settings every single day. If frameworks like this are useful to you, subscribe. I release a new one every week. You'll get the next pattern before most people even realize there's something to observe.